everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Agent Spotlight. Now, today I've got a truly remarkable guest who is redefining what it means to be completely in control over your time and business in the industry. I'm joined by Rachel Dorr. Rachel is a former school teacher who made the transition into the life insurance space in 2023. And really, she was looking for freedom, time freedom, and flexibility. And since then, she's helped 655 families, $840,000 in APV. But more recently, over the last few months, March, April, and May, you've closed $52,000 worth of Razor Ridge leads. But the most inspiring part about all of this is Rachel is homeschooling mom of two boys, and she's not glued to her desk for 10 hours a day. She's writing applications from the parking lot, the aquatic center, anywhere where she finds herself. And she uses our entire lead portfolio to run a highly profitable business. I am very happy and excited to have you on the show, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me. What a pleasure this is. Thank you.
Anytime. So I want to cut right into it. So you spent years as a school teacher before transitioning to the industry. They're quite opposite worlds, some would say. So what was the turning point where you thought you could take your skills as an educator and then apply them over here in the life insurance industry?
Yeah. So I was at a point in my career where I had realized I just had not only no real control over my time, but there was no further movement upwards from my income.
Mm,
And I'd started looking for something else. I really did not know what that looked like. I looked at real estate, but I don't love my minivan enough to be a real estate agent. And again, that's time away from your family. It's a significant amount of time. And
yes.
so I was just kind of looking and trying to figure that out. And then my dad passed away really unexpectedly. And we had a very positive experience with life insurance. We were able to take care of all of my dad's final expenses, pay off my mom's home the 2 weeks later. It was a very positive experience. And the agents that my dad had chosen to work with were really a blessing to our family.
So
And I'm
you,
really thankful for that because until that point, I knew you needed life insurance. My husband and I, we had life insurance, but we didn't have the right kind. We were actually, when I look back, we were dreadfully overexposed and we really would have had some big issues, whichever one of us survived had something happen to us. And so that really got my attention. And then I noticed a Instagram story of an acquaintance. She had been a teacher in upstate New York and she was able to walk away from a teaching career there. And I knew that teachers in upstate New York where she lived was about making like 82,000 a year. And I was like, if she's able to walk away from that
yeah.
and do this full time as a single mom of four, how
Hmm.
incredible must this be? And so I started talking with her about it. And I'm very thankful that she shared that Instagram story, because it has completely changed our lives. And I'm very thankful to her. My upline is Nikki Russell. So I'm very thankful for that. And so I got started. And it took me a little bit to get started. I think everybody has their own kind of their own origin story, so to speak. It took me a little bit. And what it came down to was I needed to decide I was going to treat this like a business and not like just a way to make money so that I didn't have to teach extra. Like this was the way out of education altogether and the way to be able to provide opportunities for our family that we were never going to have with both of us being teachers. So,
That's such an amazing story. And firstly, sorry to hear about your dad, but I guess having a positive experience with a life insurance is such a good thing to have because when you speak to your clients, you can relate to how it actually can have a really positive impact on the family. So thank you for sharing that with us as well. Now, you mentioned something about treating this as a business rather than making money. And I think a lot of times people think when they're selling life insurance, it's about selling the policy. But given your background in teaching, do you find you become more of an educator rather than selling when it comes to speaking with your clients?
absolutely. Financial education is not done really well here in
Mhm.
our country, and in our culture. And so it's kind of like a big, like, if you don't know it, oh well, you don't know it. Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how society treats it. And that's such a sad thing because there are so many lives that could be positively impacted. And so I absolutely see this as an extension of my career in education. This is just a different avenue that I've been able to take it. Instead of teaching AP chemistry, now I am teaching families how to make sure that their family is going to be okay, no matter whether the worst day is because there's a cancer diagnosis or some other unexpected health diagnosis, or because someone that they rely on passes away. And so I love that, I can start from the approach of, okay, tell me about you and your family and your situation. And then tell me what's already in place so I have an idea of the full picture, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of times there's nothing in place.
Mhm.
Sometimes there is, but a lot of times there's not. And then we can talk through what their priorities are. What are the things that are most important to them to make sure are taken care of when that time comes?
Yeah.
Because the reality is, when you get to the point where something happens, it's too late to go back, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
you gotta prep ahead of time. And so I love guiding the conversation with my clients to help them realize what's actually really important to them, because you'll have someone come in and they're like, I want $1 million. Okay, well, tell me more about what this $1 million in coverage is going to go to. What is it
Mm.
we need to cover? Is there a
Yeah.
mortgage? Are there other debts? Is there a business we need to make sure that the expenses are floated until they can sell the business? What is it that's really behind that number? Is that just an emotional response? Or is that rooted in logic and what the actual need is? And so asking really good and clear questions, I think is just so super important. And I'll tell you, after having been a teacher for 19 years and teaching a difficult subject, I'm very good at just waiting for someone to reply. I'm very good at it, and I
Mhm.
think that that's an important skill that a lot of agents don't, like, really lean into enough.
What do you mean
You
by
have
wait to reply? Like
Yeah.
what
So, like, when you ask them a question, wait for them to fully answer. Don't be like, "Oh, okay, so tell me what you want this to cover. You want it to cover your mortgage, right? Okay, great." And blah, 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 blah. Instead, saying, "Okay, so AO, you wanna make sure that when something happens, your wife and kids are able to stay in the house. Is that correct?" "Yes." "Okay. So talk to me about how old your kids are.
Mm.
How old are they?" And because you're gonna wanna know that, right? Because if they have a newborn, you don't wanna go with a 15-year term, right? A
Cool.
15-year term isn't gonna get the kid out of high school and into college
Right.
and launch.
Yeah.
Right? Because my job, AO, is to make sure that your kids are not gonna lose their dad, their home, and all their friends and their favorite school all in the
Mm.
same week
Yeah.
because I didn't ask you enough questions.
Mhm.
And so waiting, like when I say, okay, so if we don't have anything in place, who would have to step in or what would have to happen for your wife to be able to stay in the home?
Mm. Yeah.
Like, let them sit with that for a minute because sometimes they just haven't ever thought about it, right?
Yeah.
Or it's uncomfortable to think about. These can be really uncomfortable conversations. And when you do it with love and kindness and grace, people really truly appreciate that.
Mhm.
And you have to wait and just listen and sometimes ask a follow-up question, but not right away, right? You don't wanna be like, "Oh, is there a family member? Is there some other account I don't know about?" Like, don't answer for them. Make them come to the realization.
Yeah.
And sometimes you've gotta get them, especially if you are meeting with a husband and wife at the same time, and there's clearly an income gap, right? And, like, if he's gone, she's gonna be up a creek with no paddle.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to say that and get him to acknowledge it or her to
Yeah.
acknowledge it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
"Wow, Susie, so what I'm hearing is, if you don't have Mike's income, it's gonna be really difficult for you to pay the mortgage for more than a couple of months. Am I doing that math right?"
Yeah. I
You
like that.
know?
Ask question back so they're they have to confirm yes or no as well. So they're getting
Right.
buy-in with the logic of what you're trying to get across. I love it. I love it. And what I love about that is you're asking questions in a nice way. I can't find the right word, but a nice way to help them to open up, to be more trusting that you've got their best interest at heart, rather than sounding scripted, which is got the answer, next question, got the answer, next question, which people don't warm to. They don't, you don't get the sort of connection that you need to build to then create an environment where someone wants to trust you to handle quite an important financial decision in their lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, and thank you. Thank you. It's You know, I think a lot of times we may figure out what questions we need to ask, but maybe we don't practice them with the right tonality.
Mm.
And I would say a lot of times we just need to practice. Practice on your kids, practice on your spouse, practice to yourself while you're out on a walk. You can record yourself. There are so many good ways to refine your craft
Hmm.
that are very simple.
Yeah. No, I love that. Great, great, great advice. And let's talk about some leads. So you've obviously been writing since 2023. So you've gone through your fair share of internet leads, I assume analog leads at some point as well. So what's the biggest difference you notice in the posture of the prospects that you find with our leads versus other lead vendors that you've worked in the past?
Yeah. So
Okay.
what I find the biggest difference in terms of posture is that I can come at it from the I mean, I always come at things from the angle of service. I'm here to serve your family no matter what. But I find that there's more intention with these leads versus they just clicked an ad, saw a couple buzzwords, and they were like, oh, yeah, like that's what I want. It's just, whatever. Most of them have watched the full, like, video where they've gotten some education on it. They may still not have, like, the full picture of how
Hmm.
everything works, but they have a framework. There's some scaffolding there. And
Yeah.
so when you're bringing house and scaffolding, it means that you are able to, for one, grasp the problem and then the solutions a heck of a lot better
Yeah.
than otherwise. I find that I have more people who are ready to move the first or second time that I talk with them than, the sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th. I mean, there are leads that it does take a lot of follow up. And that's partly because of just scheduling, right?
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
really busy. I'm really busy. Maybe they work overnights, whatever the case may be. And it just is
Mm.
hard sometimes. But most of my razor leads are ready to move. I mean, I had 3 one-call closes since Saturday. So, I mean, it's great. Like, I this weekend I homeschool my boys,
Yeah.
and my oldest is also a competitive swimmer. He's very good. And so we go all over for swim meets. And this past weekend we were at Clemson and he competed in an open water race. And so while we were waiting in between races, I had a lead drop. It was a standard lead. And he said, hey, call me because I'm driving, so I can't text. And so I said, okay, great. I'll call you in 5 minutes. I walked back to my car, got my laptop out, my Wi-Fi, hotspot on, talked with Mr. Christopher, and we were able to get him a cancer policy. Okay. Cancer runs in his family. He's got a bunch of other health issues, and that was where we could get him the living benefits that he wanted. He was
Yeah.
ready to go right then and there. And so, I mean, that's a big difference, right? Is when somebody comes in with the mindset of, I know that I need this. I don't know exactly what it is. That's why I'm connecting with you, you
Yeah.
know? And so that's a different kind of conversation
Yeah.
than just, yeah, I saw an ad. There's some stuff out there. I don't know what I need. Maybe if I get this done in 2 years, I'm good, right? It's just a
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. And what you're saying is very intentional from our end. It's that within all our advertising, first thing we talk about living benefits. because it's something that, as you were talking earlier, education, people don't know it exists. A lot of people don't know it exists as a policy
Yep.
option. And so we're putting almost the message out there. But by doing so, we're not doing it in a way where it's sensationalized. We are doing it in a way which is, there are tweaks and quirks and stuff that we can't say in just a 90-second ad or a 2-minute ad. However, there is somebody that can speak to you, that will speak to you, and their role is to guide you through the process to make sure that you get the right policy that fits your needs. And so by us creating that forum where it's almost, we're not lying about what the process is going to do, and we're just being very honest and upfront about how you're going to also represent the products themselves. I'm glad to hear that the outcome is people who are, ready enough to want to call you and say, hey, just talk to me quickly. Let's get something done today. And obviously like you said, there's people that aren't always done today, but that is great to hear. But one of the things you said as well was about being on standard, but you've bought every lead type. You bought standard, you bought premium, you buy MP. What do you see or feel as the differences between all of our different lead types that we offer right now?
Yeah. So I will say I do love like mortgage protection as a category. That's my baby. I love mortgage protection. It's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
And but what I noticed between the different lead types, right? So the way that you guys kind of filter out, some things with the premium leads. I love that I'm not getting requests for $1 million in coverage from a 73-year-old. Right? I love that you're filtering them based on, age, health, and also, kind of based some on like their budget, what they're going to be able to actually put forth for a policy. I'm not going to get somebody who's just on Social Security as a premium lead and has $12 a month to be able to contribute towards their life insurance. And so I love that I know when I am purchasing my premium leads, I know kind of a general idea. Like they may still have some small health things, right? But I know I'm dealing with somebody who's fairly serious about their life, their obligations, right? They hold down a job,
Yeah.
all of those things. And I know generally kind of what bucket they're going to fit into when it comes to what products I'm going to be going to for them.
Yeah, of
When my
course.
standard, right, I know that there's one of a couple of things I'm going to have to kind of take a look at and maybe ask some extra questions around, right? Because you may have somebody who's a standard lead app I just sold on Monday, super sweet, beautiful woman. And she starts with, well, I'm super healthy and so forth, and just have some high blood pressure. And as I'm just going through and asking her questions, she had breast cancer 6 years ago. And, which I'm so glad that she's beat it and she is on the other side and healthy now. But that's a very different conversation, somebody who's a breast cancer survivor, than somebody who's never had any form of cancer, right? In terms of where they qualify. And so we're able to get her set up with a fantastic product. But I had to ask a few extra questions because in her mind, she is super healthy, right?
Yeah, of course.
And so you have to just kind of can realize that when you're working a standard lead, know that you're going to have to ask some extra questions surrounding health, right? And some extra questions. I find it especially important to do that FIF, that financial fire drill with my
Hmm.
standard leads. Uncover where the need is, and then also uncover where there's room for this in their budget and what that room actually is.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
So make sure that you're not going to be presenting a $200 a month policy to someone who's only got 800 a month left over at the end of all their bills,
Yeah.
right? That would be silly.
Yeah.
That would be setting yourself up for a chargeback and them to have no coverage. And we want to make sure that whatever we're putting in place makes sense for them medically, for them
Hmm.
covering their needs, and then also for their budget. Because if they can't keep it in place, then it's not going to be there to protect their family when that time comes.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point, is to make
Yeah.
sure their family's gonna be okay.
Yeah. That's perfect. And how do you go about asking the extra questions? What sort of extra questions are you asking for? And I assume it's just for standard versus premium and MP, you're asking those additional questions?
I do. I do. I personally, I always go through and I confirm their age and birth date, height and weight, make sure that, do they smoke, whatnot? Have they ever smoked, right? Because sometimes that can be an important consideration for certain carriers and how long ago they quit. And then I start with prescriptions. I always start with prescriptions. That's my kind of go-to. I say, okay, so AO, tell me what prescriptions has the doctor got you on, and if they say, well, nothing right now, I say, oh, okay, well, that's great. You're not on anything right now. What about in the last like 7 to 10 years? What have you been on besides antibiotics?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because they will sometimes they'll forget, and I forget about certain things too of my own health history. My husband will be like, yeah, remember blah blah blah. Like, oh yeah. So you just have to continue to ask questions. And so I say, oh, well, in the last 7 to 10 years, what have you been on? Well, I did have to go, and I did get put on a blood thinner after I had a clot in my leg. Okay. Gotcha. Are you still on that? How long ago did you come off it? Because the dates are pretty important, right? For us, the dates are important. And so I personally start with prescriptions because prescriptions tell you more than your client is going to most of the time. You can have somebody tell you, I'm so healthy. And then you ask prescriptions and they're like, list
Yeah, it's just a
list
huge
15 long. Yep.
well,
Yep.
I'm healthy
So
now.
yeah, I'm healthy now. I'm good now. All right, great. I love it. So I start with prescriptions. And then from there, if there's anything that I don't know what it is, which at this point I have a pretty good idea of what most medications are for, I ask follow up questions based on that. Like, okay, I see you're on allopurinol. Have you had gout? Okay, great. Any protein in your urine or any issues with your kidneys? Tell me more about that. When was your last bout with that? So that you can ask those follow-up questions. Dr. Google is one of my best friends. So I have Dr. Google pulled up all the time. If I need to check a prescription name or what it's for, don't be afraid to ask people to spell things. Like
Yeah.
it's perfectly fine. Don't shy away from it.
We live in such a good age where we can be stumped and then 2 seconds later know exactly what the person is saying by just doing a quick search or a quick chat
Yeah.
GPT look up or whatever. But that is that is good to know because I think also it's in line with who comes in the buckets when it comes to our lead type. So standard lead is anyone. So you're going to have people that will fit a premium criteria, fit an MP criteria for every criteria actually that comes through standard. But there's less caution on who comes in. Premium, there's a lot more caution who comes in. And an MP, you just have to have origin. You have to come from one of our higher quality platforms like a YouTube for you to become a lead in the first place and watch a video and get all that education that you need to ensure that obviously you know what the process is. So with your, because I know you're ordering every week, it's mixed, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is there a like a plan that you're going through when you're deciding to order, or like do you cycle them
Yeah.
based on schedule or how free you're going to be?
So as for like what day of the week I'm ordering, that does come down to like my schedule and kind of when I anticipate, what my schedule is going to look like. And so I like 15 or 20 general life premiums a week. And then I've been supplementing that with like 20 standards and then 10 to 15 mortgage protection.
Yeah.
Just depends. It depends. Like right now I'm in my AO run. I'm in month 3 now of my AO run. So I am at a point where I'm just like, bring me all the leads. I want all of them. Let me talk to as many people as I can so that we can get families protected and APV issued.
That's it.
So that's kind of been like the thing the last 3 months is
Yeah,
that's probably
gotcha.
why it does look a little crazy. Because I'm like, you know what? I need more. I need more freshy freshes. So give me those freshy freshes. That's what I call my fresh leads, the freshy freshes.
Fresh refreshers, I love that. I that makes a lot of sense actually. Yeah. How are you doing on your AO run?
So I'm on month 3. So I hit, month 1 April, month 2 May. And so month 3, as of right now, I'm my only writer for June, but I've got a lot of agents that have a lot of appointments on the books, and stuff. And right now my agents are all still fairly new.
Hmm.
I've got one who works Razor Ridge leads. She's been with me for 2 years, and she works standard, and she does well with them. My goal eventually is to get all of my agents to do digital, because I see digital as the way of the future. It's where you have basically the ability to connect with anybody anywhere,
Yeah.
and it's just so different than, mailing something in. But it's been going well. I mean, we had to submit a couple disputes on some policies because of things that like just looked like they just got completely like missed or left off. And so it's been like a little bit stressful, but I try not to like focus on that. My focus is on like serving as many families as I can, helping as many people as I can, and doing what I can to support my agents so that they
Yeah.
can be successful too.
Yeah.
Um, so
The numbers all play out. That's good. Well, it's good to hear. I
yeah,
didn't realize you're on the AO run, so I'm excited for
yeah.
you. If you get
Thank
it
you.
over by month. Oh, anyway, back to questions. So one of the unique features of our system, which some people know about, many new people may not know, is that we show your name, your national producer number, your phone number to the client as soon as they submit. And you've mentioned before about how you love how with our leads more specifically, you already feel like there's a trust that's built in. Can you expand a bit more about how that's affected you on a day to day when it comes to communicating with your clients?
Yeah, well, for one, I love that when I was on my walk this morning, I had 2 leads drop. 2 of them texted me. Both of them texted me, told me when to call them today.
Perfect.
That That is so nice. That is so nice. Okay. First and foremost, they know that they are reaching out to the person that was assigned to them, right? So that builds trust right there. They can go and take and look up my NPN, like take it on the Department of Insurance website and so forth. But what I love is that when I go and I follow it with, hey, it's so nice to meet you. Here's my card with all of my information. And like I used to just send a picture of just myself, but Jesse's got me sending a picture of my dog with me now. And so now I send a picture of me and my dog Dottie. And I just say, it's me and my girl Dottie, so I'm a human, but I'm here to serve you. I look forward to talking this afternoon. The number of people who respond to that and they're like, oh, beautiful dog, or I love your earrings,
Love that.
and because I send a dog picture, like, every couple of days if I haven't connected with them really yet, and
For fun.
so, and it'll be things like some of them, like, she's got a great face. She's got a great face. She's a yellow lab, and she will make this face. I've got a picture of her sitting on the recliner, and she's like this, and it's like, "Dottie is wondering when you're gonna call me back." Like, And, like, leads, they think it's hilarious.
Yeah, that's so
And so
funny.
they have that trust, right? Because they know your name ahead of time. They know the phone number you're gonna be calling from. They know your NPN, and then you're verifying that when you're sending them your card and you're reaching out to them from that same number. And so what it does is it's like that verifies so that you are kind of completing that trust circuit for them that was started when they first submitted their request. And so, being able to do that versus, well, gee, Joe, I've been calling you, like, as I've experienced with some other lead types, Joe, I've been calling you for 3 weeks about your request. Well, I didn't know it was you. I didn't know it
Mm.
was you. Well, it does. It makes it hard. And it's like, well, Joe, I left you text messages and voicemails. I sent you a video, all these things. So I love that they have my phone number because that takes part of the battle away of trying to get through, the AI call
Yes. Yes.
screeners
Yeah.
and just like how phone carriers are these days, right? It
Yeah.
makes a big difference to me.
Yeah. I'm glad it's making a big difference, and it's good to hear that it's doing its job this morning as well. That people are telling you
Yeah.
that they are telling you the time that they are ready for a chat as well. And I want to go a bit in your texting cadence because I know you're homeschooling your kids, you're a busy mum, you're traveling around the country, going to swim meets as well. So I imagine a lot of your business is happening on the phone as text rather than calls. How are you teeing that up and how are you getting people from a text to a call, or are you just not even getting to a call at all?
Yeah. So I do a lot of the kind of preliminaries over text, but I always offer to them, would you prefer I give you a quick 5 to 7 minute call so I can learn more about you and then do my research? Or do you
Hmm.
want to get started by text? And so I always give them that option. And I've noticed that a lot of times if they do have something that's been in their health history that they feel they need to explain, they wanna get on the phone.
Right. Yeah.
And that makes sense because they can, tell me more about it, right? And then, it you know, when I'm starting off by text and getting all their information, I try to keep it pretty simple, like 5 messages total that I'm getting all of their information
Okay.
so that they don't feel like it's some long drawn out process. I say to them, listen, I'm here to make this as simple and clear for you as I possibly can. So I just have a few questions for me that once I know these things, I can do that research for you to find you the best you qualify for. And so I tell them there's no medical exam for these, but when we find the plan that is best for you, the insurance company is just going to double check what we've answered. And
Mm,
that's what I say. They're gonna
yeah.
just double check what we've answered, because that's
Yeah.
really what they're doing when they're checking the MIB. They're saying, "Does this line up with what they answered on the app? Yes
Yeah.
or no?" If it
Yeah.
doesn't, so but I'm asking, "Is this your first policy, or are we adding to coverage you already have in place?" That's one of my first questions I'm asking. I'm asking, "Are we getting coverage options on just you or you and someone else?" Right? So that leaves room for finding options for a parent, for a spouse or partner, for a kid, and so forth. And then I go into, I've got down that you're 47. What's your birth date? Can you send me your age and your height and weight? I mean, and then I have you're a non smoker. Is that correct? And so I verify those things.
Yeah.
And then I ask them just like one kind of overall health question. And I just tell them, listen, this is not going to impact whether I can find you coverage. This is just going to help steer me to the right coverage. Do you have any history of cancer, heart attack, stroke, recent COVID, TIAs, diabetes, or and then I say, like, are there any other health issues that would show up when we go for an approval? And
Yeah.
so it gives them space to say, like, well, I don't have any of those things, but maybe I have rheumatoid arthritis. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks so much for letting me know.
Yeah.
What prescriptions are you on? Right. And so then I ask, because when I'm doing it by text, I don't start with the prescriptions. I start with prescriptions when I'm on the phone with them.
Right.
And so that is a little reversed.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, no matter what it is they say, they have cancer currently, not a problem. They had cancer 10 years ago, not a problem. They're perfectly healthy, awesome. Whatever the case may be, nothing is a problem. We can get them covered, have no worries. I'm really good at what I do, and I'm here to help you make sure your family is protected. So that really and I just ask any surgeries or hospitalizations. And knowing that is super helpful because some carriers are really particular about number of nights and everything else. And from there, I go into, all right, great. I've got everything I need to research for you. I'm going to get to work on this. Our next step is for me to call and go over these plans. It's not a one size fits all. And so having that conversation allows me to serve you and your family with the best thing possible. Does later today work best, or is sometime tomorrow better? And so I go at it from that angle so that they don't feel like I guess I would say I take away that feeling like they're going to be sold something
Yeah.
versus we're working together to find the right plan for you and your family. And
Yeah.
this is
You're
a conversation. So,
exactly. You're really positioning it as I need this information to do my job. And the more honest you are with your answers, doesn't matter what your answer is, no problem. Doesn't matter. That's
mhm,
okay. It also acts as like a disarmer to that individual because again, by text,
mhm.
some context is missed, but you've already laid the context foundation out ahead of time by telling them you just need to do this because the insurance carrier is going to just double check to make sure it aligns. So anything you tell me now will be utilized at some point anyway. And so by disarming them, it allows you the space to then ask those potentially hard hitting questions via text. Some people may not be wanting or willing to share some medical things, but that's okay because, like you said, you're doing it as a team. And as a team, it allows you the time to then create the value, which is getting a policy that works for them. And last thing I want to talk about is just time in general. Now, because you're so busy and because you've got a lot going on as a mother, as a wife, and what's your message to people who are wanting to scale to have a really successful business like you've had over, such a short period of time that don't have the time to necessarily devote to because they've got a corporate job or something else, or maybe they're homeschooling as well.
Yeah. So, big thing I would say is if you're not already leveraging time zones and getting licenses in other states that would give you more work time in the evening, or if you're West Coast in the morning before you go to work, leveraging time zones is one of the biggest tools that you have in your tool belt. You have the ability to work later when kids are in bed, activities are done, and your other job is taken care of. That is a big, big thing. And then I would also say don't be afraid to invest in your resources. Give yourself enough resources to see success. I think a mistake a lot of people make is they look at everything from a, well, gee, if I'm spending $800 on leads, then that's $800. Well, but the thing is, $800 can become 8,000 like that.
Yeah.
And so don't be afraid to invest in leads. And I'll tell you, like, I'm probably somebody like that has too many leads, if anything. I probably have too many leads. I love leads. I specifically love that I didn't have to I don't have to build my business around my family and friends. I can serve them and I can come to them from a place of service of, hey, this is my level of expertise. I would love to make sure your family's okay.
Yeah.
But I don't have to be like, Aunt Sally, buy a life insurance policy or I'm not coming to Thanksgiving, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't have to do that. I don't have to do that. I can build my business with a funnel that is always full
Yeah.
because I've taken very deliberate steps to ensure that for myself, right? So, like, I'm licensed in, I think, 29 states. It's somewhere around there. I kind of lose track. And, where I'm getting my leads, what states I'm choosing for my lead orders depends on, what my schedule is going to be. So if I know that over the next couple of weeks, we've got multiple swim meets that are out of town, I'm going to be focusing more on West Coast stuff because that's going to give me time to do stuff after have those appointments, usually after the rest of the day is done.
Yeah.
And so if you don't already do that, you should. You
Mm.
really should. Time zones, I think, are the biggest tool that you have in your belt.
Yeah, that's a brilliant idea. Do you know what? I've never really thought about that, and that makes so much sense. You've got time zone because over here in the UK we only have one, so which is
Right.
yeah, 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 so being able to leverage time zones is such a smart way of just leveraging your time effectively for what you do as a day job and in the evening or before work if you're West Coast. Great, great bit of advice. Thank you very much for your time, Rachel. I really do appreciate it. And I've loved having you on the show today. And I really look forward to many, many more years of success. And also, hopefully, the next time I speak to you in the not too distant future, I'll be calling you an AO as well. So thank you very much for your time and look forward to speaking to you very soon. Take care.
Thanks so much.